Hello, everyone. So, I'm doing it. I am finally making a video on forward-facing sonar. And here's why. With all this talk, all this argument on forward-facing sonar, especially over the last couple years, everyone glosses over one major fact about it. They either just breeze right through it or they don't even mention it at all. And that is price. Now let's get into this. All right, hear me out here. Let's start with the guys who are already fishing and all of that. When forward-facing sonar came out, it was too expensive to begin with. Like me personally, I looked at it and was like, dang, that's expensive. I'm not going to buy it right now, maybe in the future. All right? And that's what most guys were thinking. All of us weekend guys, whatever, even guys that fish tournaments and stuff. Like everyone that I know here in South Carolina, back in Colorado, all these guys, some of them boat fishermen, kayak fishermen, bank fishermen, all that stuff. Some of them fish tournaments, some of them don't. Everything. I know one guy, one friend who has forward-facing sonar. The rest of them, it's too dang expensive. So that's where it started. And then they get into certain people, let's just say, that start pushing BS as to why FFS is so terrible. Okay? BS about it. All right? Like, number one, let's get into this. The conservation thing. Complete bullcrap. Okay? Every biologist says there is no correlation yet. This forward-facing sonar has been out for 8 years already. And actually it was out before that, but really popular for 8 years. But conservation biologists say there's nothing to it. And here's why. Crappie fishing, yeah, it might be hurting the crappie population because guys are using forward-facing sonar, catching a lot more crappie than they were catching before. States don't have regulation on crappie. A lot of states, some do, some don't, whatever. But either way, there's a lot of guys catching their limit of crappie, taking them home, doing that every day because they eat them. Bass fishing, no one's eating bass. You moron. No one is out there eating bass. And the people that are, there is a small, teeny tiny percentage of people eating bass, but they don't have forward-facing sonar. You get what I'm saying? People like that do eat bass and don't believe in catch and release and stuff, but it's a very small population, especially nowadays. Everyone catches and releases bass. They catch and release everything, pretty much. So, shut up with the conservation thing. That is so stupid. The other thing is the argument about professional fishing. Well, now you need it to win, or now you need it to compete. Well, no, duh. It's just like everything else. Look at when side imaging came out. It was the exact same thing. People came out with side imaging saying, well, you need, this is wrong and this is hurting the sport and everything. And who was winning the tournaments? Kevin Van Dam, Aaron Martins, guys like that were good with the side imaging, could figure out the channels and the drops and go out there and crush it. And they were the guys that were winning tournaments. For years, it was the major thing that you needed to get good at, and those guys started winning. The big selling baits back then were deep diving crankbaits, drop shot baits, stuff like that, just like now. Okay? It evened out after a few years, and it went back to even because it went from flipping and pitching all the time to now guys doing more offshore stuff because they have side imaging and all of that. And then it evened itself back out. We're back in that thing right now. Forward-facing sonar. Yeah, it's dominating more so right now, but it's going to even itself back out. The bass will even itself back out. Okay? So, and the big baits now are all the sonar, forward-facing sonar baits, all the little minnows and everything, obviously. But it will even itself out. So stop with the stupid arguments. The big problem with forward-facing sonar now. All right? The real issue is the price for young anglers. This is how it is actually killing our sport. Because, and this is, forward-facing sonar is a little snowflake. Okay, it's actually bigger than a snowflake, but listen to my analogy here for a minute. So it's a snowflake and a big snowball that has been just rolling downhill and just building for 30 years, really since the 90s. Okay, and that is that we have become an elitist sport. We have. And it's really not true, but when these kids see it, and it doesn't matter if you're pro fisherman or they're seeing YouTube, the main thing they see all the time is, well, I need a $100,000 bass boat and a $100,000 truck to pull it, and I need all this new fancy $5,000 electronics and all this stuff. That is the big issue, is we have made it like these kids now see that and they're like, well, I'm going to go back to playing video games. That's why the sport hasn't grown. We had a little bump during COVID, that 2020 year. All those guys are gone now. It's not growing. It's getting worse. And kids don't go fishing because they look at it and we all, and I could be accused of it, I guess, because I own a boat, even though it's cheap and all that. But still, I mean, they look at it and they just think, if they don't know any better, maybe they just started fishing or they just saw something and they thought about getting into it, and then they see that and you know. And it used to also be with the kayaks. I remember, so when I bought my first boat years ago, it was a 1989 Avenger XV. Ever heard of it? No, you probably haven't. It's a little 15.5-foot fiberglass boat. It had a 80 horsepower Mercury on it from the 60s, and that was just a toss-up if that thing would ever run, if it would actually start in the morning. And when it did run, it was a piece of crap. But and I bought the dang boat. The trailer was falling apart too. The boat and motor and trailer and all that for $500. But my buddy and I loved that thing. For years, every weekend, we would take that thing out onto the water and go fishing. That's really all you need. But that's not what so many people convey. And then, obviously, at that time, kayak fishing was a thing, but it wasn't that big. It was after a couple years, it started getting kind of big. And so, and I was like, wow, dude, I'm going to get a kayak too, because a lot of the little lakes in Colorado, I couldn't have the boat with the outboard anyway. So I would take the kayak to those little lakes. Bought a $500 kayak from Bass Pro Shops. I mean, love that thing. I love that kayak. That thing was awesome for years. But now, the kayak fishing even has gotten so freaking crazy. These guys got $20,000 kayaks that weigh a ton that you can't just throw in the back of a truck or put on a car or just put on a cart and roll down to the pond anymore. No, now they need to buy a trailer to tow the dang thing and a vehicle to tow the trailer and all that. Their kayak setups are more expensive than my Tracker Pro 170 with a 50 horse sitting in the garage right now. Like, so even kayak fishing, it's not appealing to people just starting out or kids or anyone. So we're killing the sport by not showing kids, number one, how to fish, and just by showing them, oh, you need all this fancy stuff for no reason. And forward-facing sonar, that's a big problem with it, is it caused this big disconnect between everyone, and they're just losing their freaking minds over it for no dang reason, but they're really getting away from the major problem, is that everything costs too dang much. And a lot of guys didn't use it for that reason to begin with, and now they're just, ooh, I don't like it, no. Because now they're just in that. So that's the big problem, okay? So let's stop getting all this blah, blah, blah crap going. The tournament stuff, it'll even itself out. Who cares, okay? If you can afford the forward-facing sonar, go buy it, put it on your boat, fish with it. Who cares? I mean, who cares? Stop. The big problem is that the tournaments and even all these YouTubers, like the real popular YouTubers and stuff, are using it all the time and just showing that they need to use it, and they got all these fancy boats and they're doing all this and just acting like, well, screw you, kids. There you go. That's it. If you can't tell, I've thought about it a lot. And yeah, you guys, some people won't agree with me, and I'm sure I'll get a bunch of hate comments, whatever. I'll see you guys on the next one.